Hello, my name is Adriana Morono, and today I will be presenting my science fair project on understanding the barriers and facilitators in skin cancer prevention among the Hispanic community, as well as discussing a application and website prototype. So, as you may know, skin cancer is the most prevalent kind of cancer, not only in the United States, but in the entire world. And according to an article published this year, 1 in 5 Americans will be diagnosed with skin cancer at least once in their lifetime, which makes up about 20% of the entire population of the United States. And even though the statistic is very high, skin cancer has been regarded to be one of the easiest kinds of cancers to treat because of the fact that most cases of skin cancer get diagnosed at a stage 1 or 2, in which the mortality rate is very low. But what a lot of people aren't aware of is that melanoma rates within the Hispanic community have been readily increasing by 20% in the last 2 decades, and statistics show that it will only continue to increase. And although people in the Hispanic community don't get diagnosed with skin cancer as readily as people in the white community, they have a much higher chance of dying from skin cancer due to the fact that many Hispanic people get diagnosed at a stage 4, meaning that instead of being diagnosed at stage 1, where their cancer hasn't really developed or metastasized, at a stage 4, they have a much lower chance of survival. This is the reason that my research is so important because it aims to tackle the kinds of barriers and facilitators that Hispanic people have in regards to accessing education on skin cancer and sun protection behaviors and aiming to improve it. So this experiment was split up into 3 phases. The first phase was conducted last year in my last project, and this year I conducted phase 2 and phase 3. So I'm going to briefly discuss last year's and then go into this year's project. So the first phase basically used interviews, both focus group and individual interviews, in order to get barriers and facilitators from the Hispanic community in order to go into phase 2 and use these barriers and facilitators to create messages that would be used in a mobile-based intervention. And the third phase was to create a website and app prototype that would be based on the findings from phase 1 and phase 2 in order to create a sort of technology that was geared specifically towards the Hispanic community that would make them more educated on skin cancer and in turn lower the rate of mortality because of skin cancer. The hypothesis of this experiment was that given preconceived notions about Hispanics and statistics on the population, it would be concluded that they had a very little understanding on skin cancer examination and diagnosis, which causes the higher morbidity rates. And an application catered to the community specifically would improve the statistic. The materials used was a MacBook, Google Sites, Atlas TI, which is a coding software, Canva, and Visual Studio Code to create the application. These are the methods for phase 1, and to briefly discuss them, phase 1 basically got Latinos from all around New Jersey, and we used focus group and individual interviews and got quotes from these people, and then transcribed and coded these interviews using Atlas TI in order to analyze the recurring themes that came up in the interviews. And as you can see here we have the barriers and facilitators that we found that were recurring themes in every person that we interviewed, because we interviewed not only people that worked in healthcare, but also pastors, community leaders, religious leaders, and people who worked in occupations such as construction and teaching, a varying amount of people that could give us different barriers and facilitators. And we found that the two highest barriers were knowledge and awareness and language, meaning that they had a sort of disconnect from the physicians that they were attending or the people who were giving them information about skin cancer, if they were given any information at all, which ultimately causes them to be less educated and more likely to get skin cancer without even knowing it. And the facilitators were consequences, meaning that if people in the Hispanic community generally knew someone who was diagnosed with skin cancer that was in their family or was their friend, then they would be more likely to get screened. Here is just a demonstration that knowledge barriers and language barriers were two of the most prevalent barriers found within the interview codings. And here we have phase 2. So the first step was to obviously create a study protocol, and then we had to create initial messages based on 6 modules. These 6 modules were extracted based on the barriers and facilitators and the general interview responses that we got from phase 1. And then step 3 was to conduct individual and focus group interviews to review these preliminary messages in order for us to input specific feedback that we got from the Hispanic community in order to make modified messages and make the messages all the more inclusive and effective for the community. And here we have Module 1 and Module 2. In Module 1, skin cancer statistics among people of color slash Hispanics were involved. And in Module 2 was sun protection behaviors. And as you can see in this image, it is pictured in both images, actually. I created them with the intention of being more inclusive by showing a varying amount of skin tones and mixing statistics with family values. As you can see, the mother applying sunscreen to her daughter, and also the maternal aspect in Module 1 images. And I created these images based on specifically what people said in the interviews that were conducted in order to make these images as catered to the community as possible. And this can also be seen in Module 3 and Module 4. In Module 3's skin examination, again, I attempted to make them as inclusive as possible by showing an array of skin colors because of the fact that many medical models in this day and age still have many inaccuracies due to the fact that many medical models that show skin cancer are only showed on a very fair colored skin. So people who are Hispanic, who look online or who ask physicians have a tougher time identifying skin cancer on themselves since they don't really see models that represent them. So that was for Module 3, that was what tackled it. And Module 4 is also very important given the fact that many people within the Hispanic community work in construction or work in landscaping or work outside, and they don't really have the behavioral tendency or the knowledge or the basically the behavior to apply skin protection behaviors like sunscreen or wear hats or gloves, or basically they had no sort of actions that would protect them even though they were working outside, which makes them more liable to getting skin cancer. And here we have the last two modules, so Module 5 and Module 6, which are also very important because we found that in the interviews, it was very convincing for the Hispanic community to see families portrayed, since family values are at the center of their culture for the most part. And Module 6 is also very important because of this day and age in which skin aging and social media has propagated anti-aging benefits of sunscreen and other things that protect you from the sun, and also misinformation. So these were also very important modules to tackle in response to the things that we found from the interviews. And this is phase 3, in which the application and website were made. So the core programming language used in the application after collecting initial data and analyzing skin tone using the von Luschen's chromatic scale and performing lesion analysis and recommending an action is JavaScript. And that is basically the entire programming language used for this entire app. And React Native is the framework that I used in order to create the mobile app because it is mostly used for iOS and Android apps, since I wanted to make it something mobile, something could be on their phones, something that they could upload photographs of their own skin lesions onto the app and get analyzed there and get recommended to clinics near them in order to have a straight path into getting checked out or into getting a skin examination. And that is what Google Places API was used for. Here you can see the von Luschen's chromatic scale. As you can see, there is a varying amount of skin colors, which is what I wanted to display in the app. That this app is not only catered to people who have a white complexion and that can identify skin cancer readily on them. It is catered towards an entire community of people that have been underrepresented. And here are some of the sample images that are used in order to train the model of the app in order for the app to identify the different colors usually found in skin lesions like skin cancer. And these sample images were from the ISIC skin lesion database from Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Here we have the website prototype that is in both English and Spanish, again, specifically geared towards the Hispanic community. And here we have the app prototype coding. So this code is what lets the user take or upload a picture of their own skin lesion so it can be uploaded into the app's database. And figure 2, directly what comes after that, is the code that extracts the colors from the images using the von Luschen's chromatic scale in order to identify the varying kinds of color, not only the skin color, but also the color found within the lesions, so it can be compared to the various amount of images uploaded from the database. Figure 3 is the last and final code that recommends nearby clinics to the user in order for them to get immediate recommendations for resources in both English and Spanish, or any resources that they may need from uploading a picture of their skin lesion. Here, I also have community outreach because I thought that the best way to lower the mortality rates, at least in my community, which is 70% Hispanic, was to go out and educate the community directly and demonstrate the power of education in both English and Spanish. I went out into middle schools in order to facilitate family knowledge, and I also went into community health fairs in order to basically educate the public about topics that they didn't know before in a way that was specifically catered to them because of the knowledge that I obtained through phases one, two, and three. And as a data analysis, I of course found that phase one data showed that many people in the Hispanic community didn't have the normal behavior because of their lack of knowledge and the language barrier that they exhibited in regards to skin cancer. And phase two, which was a direct reflection of phase one, showed that people who reacted to these messages preferred a combination of human and cartoon images as well as visuals with text. And they also included that they wanted simplified language that could be easy to understand in both English and Spanish. And although phase three is still under wraps, it delineated that the application would allow users to navigate a user-friendly platform that will be geared specifically towards the Hispanic community. And in conclusion, I found that the hypothesis was supported because due to the low awareness and misconceptions about skin cancer within the community, the mortality rates have risen tenfold, and that doing these centered interventions that are very important to me, given that I am part of such a um, robust Hispanic community and that I'm part of a Hispanic family myself, I wanted to strive to create the most user-centered and most inclusive kind of website and app that I could. And that is what I am also working on now and what I will continue to work on in the future in my community initiative that will help communicate the ideals delineated in this analysis and in further analysis and help spread the word about the website and the app that I will only try to improve as time goes by. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.